The Gators, the Seminoles, the Sunshine Showdown taking place in Gainesville this year to cap a very dreary season for both the Gators and the Noles. Florida and FSU squaring off once more in the swamp. Florida, of course, 3-8. There will be no bowl for them. FSU is hoping that they will be able to join the ranks of the bowl-eligible teams this year. Got to beat Florida to do it, with Mike Norvell coming back for another season. All that plus Lane Kiffin drama continues. Frankly, it's getting a little annoying to us to talk about as well. For those of you who like to claim that the media is dragging this out for clicks and attention, it is a literal head spinner for me. It is not helping my sickness get over any quicker, but we'll share what we know. We'll talk about some things that we're hearing. We'll give our own educated guesses and educated opinions on the matter as the saga reaches a conclusion, as a decision is going to be made later in the week. But Florida and FSU, of course, the main course of conversation today. Here to talk about it, Adrian Perez, of course, at ADNDEL on Twitter. Follow him for his Gator baseball news at Gator Diamond Pod. Of course, some news dropping with Kevin O'Sullivan today that we have our thoughts on. We'll save for another day. But to go get that kind of content now, follow him at Gator Diamond Pod. Also, of course, I am your host, Neil Shulman. Follow me at All Kinds Weather on Twitter and Instagram. While you're here, please be sure to hit the subscribe button, like, comment, leave a 5-star review and a nice rating on Apple Podcasts. All that stuff helps us bring you more great Gators content. Got to take a second to shout out our sponsor. Of course, proudly sponsored by 401k Generation, the wealth management company that helps you invest today for your future tomorrow. Their team of advisors is committed to providing guidance and education for your 401k plan and its participants, and they also offer a range of enrollment solutions tailored to meet the unique needs of your company's 401k plan. Whether it's savings for your child's college, investment advice, even just your retirement, 401k Generation team of advisors makes getting to know you their top priority. Their advisors will tailor a path to assist you in navigating life's financial milestones and reaching your financial goals. 401k Generation, building stronger futures one generation at a time. For more information, please contact them 866-998-5879 or visit their website at 401kgeneration.com. Also, don't forget to check out our Patreon, patreon.com/CFBforecaster, where you can get exclusive access to everything behind the All Kinds of Weather forecast model. Talking full top 25 power ratings, complete rankings of all 136 FBS teams, weekly game-by-game projections, model spreads, totals, win probabilities, all that good stuff, powered by our very own Dustin Smith. Also, you'll get some early data drops, deeper analytics breakdowns, and when this thing reaches a point where we can do this, we're not quite there yet, but we imagine next season probably, we will have the ability to request custom simulations for your team, as we want to grow this beyond just a Florida Gators thing. Of course, we're starting with just the Gators, but we're going to use it for all of college football and hopefully all of college basketball down the road as well. So when we are ready to roll all of that out, that will be available to you as well. So if you love what we're building here, if you want to be able to nail some scores, make some money in Vegas, the way Dustin did, I'm still laughing at how he bullseyed that just abortion of a football game against Mississippi State. But he did. And if you want to know more about how he's able to do stuff like that, go ahead and check out our forecaster model. Again, that's patreon.com/CFBforecaster. All right, Adrian, both these teams suck. Let's just put it all on the table. We are not going to even attempt to hype this up as a game of the century or even a game that's going to be memorable in any fashion. But it is still Florida FSU. This is still a rivalry game. It is the rivalry game for a lot of fans. Gator fans are going to say it's either FSU or Georgia. Clearly, this is the rivalry in the state of Florida, the bragging rights. A lot of these guys, even in the NIL era, even though they are now paid mercenaries, still grew up playing against each other, and now will do so once more. So the rivalry game, it's here in rivalry week. What does this rivalry, as a guy who grew up in Miami, what does this rivalry mean to you?
Man, Florida State was one game that I really didn't follow much until I came to UF back in '92. In the '90s, obviously, it was the game in college football. Like there was a moment there in the '90s where for like for like 4 or 5 years in a row, the winner of this game played for a national championship, something to that effect. It was crazy, you know, and how far the rivalry has fallen, right? It's now, you know, not even worth talking about from a national perspective, which is a shame. You know, I mean, like you said, both these teams suck. Both fan bases hate each other. There was a time when the players hated each other. That's what a rivalry is all about, right? In this era of NIL and transfer portal, does that really exist much between teams? You know, I mean, you look at Florida State's roster, you know, talk about a portal mercenary squad right there. That's what that is. And that's what Norvell has fallen into. He's fallen into that pattern of just getting portal players every year, getting a brand new roster every year. And he hit 1 year on that, 1 year. But his percentages are not very good on that so far. So we'll see what happens to him next year. We'll talk about that later. But, you know, like I said, man, this game, you know, I got to go back to the 90s when I was in school. I was there for Choke-A-Doke. I was in the stadium. Halftime, Ric Flair came over to the UF section, and we were having a blast. Back then, it was right during the time that Steve Spurrier came up with his FSU Free Shoes U. He came that in the preseason of that season. So, you know, all of the Gator fans had their shoes up in the air doing the tomahawk chop during halftime. We were up 31-3, right? And then the Choke-A-Doke happened. So I was there for that. And, you know, the best memories that I have back then was the home games. You know, College Game Day came to all of them, obviously. And College Game Day would set up right in front of the Swamp. And that atmosphere was unbeatable. You know, now it's been traded off for those tents that they put up there so that, you know, the university could make a few bucks off of that. And, you know, not that we have College Game Day much anymore, but at the chance that we do, you know, along with like SEC Nation, they got to go set up over at Plaza of the Americas instead of right in front of the Swamp. But that was unbelievable, man. College Game Day right in front of the Swamp, right before Florida State. Usually back then in the 90s, believe it or not, the noon kickoff was considered like the primetime slot. So Florida State was at noon quite often, and unbelievable atmosphere, man. So that's what I remember about it. Those days are long gone. The rivalry has been kind of up and down for the last 20 years. It's either been one side dominating or the other, or they both have been terrible. So that's pretty much what the rivalry's been like for the last 20 years, right, Neil? It's not like they've been both good in a long time.
2012 aside, when it was 4 versus 10, that was a top 10 matchup, which was clearly an anomaly with Will Muschamp at Florida, who quickly then led Florida to the cellar after that game. I mean, technically, when it was McElwain versus Jimbo, technically they were top 15 matchups, but it wasn't the same.
No, not the same.
The numbers beside the two teams' logos on those ESPN score bugs just didn't feel the same. And obviously, I was born a little too late to experience the heyday of this rivalry. There is somewhere, I'm actually at my parents' house now for Thanksgiving. Somewhere in this house, there's a VHS tape of almost 3-year-old Neil in his Gator PJs, up way past his bedtime, running around doing the Gator chomp as Florida was getting through disemboweling FSU 52-20 for the national championship. So, I mean, I guess that kind of counts. But for most of my life, it has not been a thing. And I will say I've been in the Swamp for games against FSU when both teams have sucked, most notably 2021 when both teams were 5-6. And it was fun. You know, the Florida fans were at that point, we were looking forward to getting rid of, the Greg Knox interim staff and just moving on. At that point in time, Billy Napier was still deemed to be respectable as a head coach. So give you a sense for how long ago that was at this point. But yeah, I mean, it was fun, but I feel like I've missed out on so much, on so many great things. Because like you said, one side's dominated the other. I mean, my first like really, really fun memories of this rivalry were 2004 when Florida was terrible and they ruined Bobby Bowden's namesake naming of the stadium in Tallahassee, which is why we now call it Ron Zook Field, because a fired Ron Zook went in there and beat the Noles on the night in which they named the field after Bobby Bowden, which is absolutely hilarious. But aside from that, the win did nothing for Florida. Like that season, great. It improves you from a 5-loss team to still a 5-loss team. 0 BCS hopes, 0 championship hopes, but no, there's nothing there. So it's a bragging right and it's fun, but there's just not a whole lot there beyond that. And I think that is where this rivalry was at its greatest. Its peak was when there was more than just bragging rights at stake. The bragging rights were bragging rights because it meant something nationally. It's not just the ability to hold up a severed Seminole head like the one I gave Tyreek Sapp last year, or for FSU to hold up the Gator head when they beat us. Yeah, it's fun, it's cute, whatever, nice photo op. But then you go back to the locker room, then you get ready for a bowl game if you're FSU, if you win, or you get ready for the next season, and you're just like, yeah, cool, whatever. Now what? We suck this year, unacceptable results, got to fix something for next year. So I look forward to those days for sure. I also wouldn't mind Florida just pounding FSU into the dust every year, because the Tebow years were that. That was quite enjoyable for me in a family of mostly FSU people. That's not true. It's probably like 60-40 FSU to Florida, but a lot of Noles for sure. A lot of Noles, especially in my mom's siblings and their kids, my first cousins. So it's fun to beat them. It's fun to troll them. It's fun to mock the chop when we beat them and all that and hold up the head. But there is so much more I know I missed out on that Adrian just touched on, and I wish we could have that.
I was in the swamp also when Warwick Dunn just broke our hearts.
93, yeah.
Bobby Bowden, I think, is one of the only coaches that Spurrier has a losing record against, if I'm not mistaken.
You're correct.
Florida State definitely had, even though there were unbelievable games, Florida State definitely had the best of us back in the 90s. Those Bobby Bowden Florida State teams were right up there with some of the best teams ever in college football. And they ruined many of our seasons, but we did get them up.
I was going to say, 3 times. Turn around, Adrian. Turn around. Look what's right behind your head.
Right back there. That was beautiful. That was the year that Bobby Bowden said that they played to the echo of the whistle.
Yeah.
And they almost sent Danny Warfel, poor Danny, to the hospital there in Tallahassee, Leon County General. And then Spurrier went to the old shotgun. He went to the shotgun in the Sugar Bowl, and the rest is history.
Wait. I'm sorry. You mean that you are allowed to make X's and O's adjustments from game to game?
Yeah, from game to game.
I didn't know that.
Unbelievable, man.
Weird.
Now, Spurrier was an under center head coach. So it took, Boulware and Raynard Wilson on the edges, almost killing Danny Warfel for him to put him in the shotgun, but he did, and he got a national championship. If he had done that, I still think if Spurrier had done that the year before against Nebraska, we might have beaten Nebraska, but maybe not.
We weren't going to stop Tommy Frazier.
That was a juggernaut that Nebraska had. But, man, and Neil, it doesn't look like this series is going to get any better because both teams are god-awful, and the chances that both of them get it straightened out moving forward here in the next 3, 4, 5 years, the chances that both of them do that is going to be very slim. One of them probably will, if you play the percentages. But both of these teams for the next 5 years, both of them getting good, I don't see that happening. So I think the series is still going to be lopsided for the foreseeable future.
Just hope it's lopsided in our direction.
Hopefully.
We are going to be the ones to move forward next year. FSU is keeping Mike Norvell. That means, I guess, whatever you want it to mean if you're FSU. A lot of people, it's weird. The people on Twitter and online in general want him gone. A lot of FSU relatives that I know of the older generation love him. I say, look, he's adapted to the portal. I'll give you that. You think he might have adapted a little too much to it? You think he might be a little too reliant on it? And they're like, well, it worked out 1 year in 23. I'm like, yeah, it did. It also very much did not work each of the past 2 seasons now, but it worked in 22 also. Yeah, but that was a lot of your same team coming back. The continuity that you guys had from 22 to 23, plus basically swapping out Jermaine Johnson for Jared Verse. is not something you guys were able to really replicate over the last couple of seasons. So it's very obvious that they did not fire him for financial reasons. That is as obvious as Florida's colors are orange and blue. Like, that is very clear. If you're able to read between the lines at all, you could look at that statement they put out and just see basically them just saying, yeah, we're poor. Is really what that reads to me.
I think that is factor number one. Make no mistake about it. That's the overriding factor. But I also think that from what I've heard, the administration over there thought that when they gave Norvell the, what's it called? When the administration gives you the
vote of confidence.
The vote of confidence there, that they really thought that they were going to get some more wins at the end of that schedule, because they are in the ACC and they were playing some, fairly average teams in the ACC. So they thought that they could straighten out the ship, maybe get 7 or 8 wins, and that they would be pretty good there and not have the heat. But when he ends up losing those games in the ACC to these bad teams, now they kind of got stuck, because now you don't have the money, like you said, to make the move. But number two, you see what happened in the landscape of college football. And if you're Florida State, do you really want to come into this coaching search right now with the way this field is right now? They're not in it for Lane Kiffin, obviously. They're not in it for Lincoln Riley. They're in the ACC. They're not an SEC ball club. So at best, you're looking at them being the 5th, 6th best job out there. So they didn't want to get into this coaching market to go on top of the fact that they didn't even have the money to buy in. Okay, so it was just bring back Norvell and just suck it, man. Nothing you could do about it. Sucks to be.
Yeah, them. I mean, there's a train of thought, and a very logical one at that Arkansas is a better job than FSU. It has nothing to do with the school's histories or prestige. Yeah. FSU has clearly been more successful over its history than Arkansas, but the very simple fact that Arkansas is in the SEC and FSU is not makes it a sexier job. Plus, the Jerry Jones money, the Tyson money, the Walmart money, all that. And FSU has what? The creator of Spanx, I think, who helped them get rid of Willie Taggart.
Yeah.
That's not those two are not equal. And again, this is not me trolling FSU. This is me saying, you guys, given your history in FSU, 3 national championships, came pretty damn close to probably 5 more. You guys deserve better. I mean, as a Gator who's a rival of FSU, I hate FSU and love watching them suffer. Trust me, as the guy who makes the Concord videos every year, it is hilarious watching FSU suck. But objectively speaking, looking at FSU's history and seeing where they are, you guys deserve a lot better than this. You guys deserve to be in a better spot. You deserve more money coming in. You deserve to be the sexiest job on the market in a year, probably other than this one, LSU, Florida, even Auburn. I mean, even discounting their 9 national titles, Auburn is still a pretty powerful program. But that aside, in any other year, FSU would clearly be the sexiest job on the market. And if they were on the market in this one, they would be able to compete with Florida, LSU, Auburn, Penn State, etc. Certainly more so than Arkansas. There's no world in which Arkansas should even be thought by any random individual to be a better job, any sane individual to be a better job than FSU. But it is simply because they're in the SEC. They know they're set in the SEC. They're not, conference nomads. They're not going to be shopping for a new world to call their home the next couple of years, because they're set financially and they're secure with where they are. And FSU just doesn't have that. So when I say that, FSU fans, I'm not making fun of you in the slightest bit. Florida's got its own problems right now, including an athletic director who's actively sabotaging the program. So this is not me throwing shade. We've got our own issues here. This is me saying, you guys are fixing this issue, which is very, very difficult to fix, granted, but you guys are fixing this one thing away from being a national power again. So, and as a Gator fan who has, the stake in this with FSU being a rival, I clearly don't want that to happen. But just speaking realistically, if you somehow do solve this, let's say you do go to the Big Ten in 5 years, you guys are in a much better spot right now than probably 3/4 of the SEC teams right now. Maybe not 3/4. Maybe the better spot than 10 of the 16 SEC teams. So that's all it'll take.
Yeah. When it's all said and done, listen, they are an ACC team right now, and I know that FSU, Miami, Clemson, they have the cachet that you think they're going to be okay, but this is going to be a 2-league power conference sport. And if you're not in the SEC or in the Big Ten, you're going to be left out of the dance. When the music stops, you're not going to have a chair. So until you get that chair, until you secure that chair, there's still that little bit of doubt, man. Are we going to be left out of one of these two conferences? Because we know that no matter what, SEC ain't going to take us. Florida will always block that. Okay,
Even
so
Florida
you got to get into the Big Ten. You got to get into the Big Ten if you're Florida State.
There's no reason for the SEC to want them too. Like they've got the Florida foothold. They've got the Southeastern foothold. If the SEC is going to expand, they would do one of two things. They would either one, they would keep going west. So that's like Oklahoma State, Texas Tech for the West Texas people, because they've got a lot of money too. Not that they have a huge TV market, but they would probably get Texas Tech as part of a package with an Oklahoma State, or maybe, probably not Colorado, but maybe see, that's the thing. There's not a whole lot of great teams out there, but Oklahoma State would make sense to get the Bedlam series back because that rivalry is ratings gold. Maybe they'd go after another Big 10 team or a Big 12 team here or there. I don't think there's a whole lot of Big 10 teams that would make sense to poach, even if the SEC wanted to. The other option is they could just go all in with basketball and say, screw it. We've got the football foothold. We've got all we need. Let's go for basketball. Let's go grab North Carolina. Let's go grab Virginia. Let's go grab Duke. Let's go grab Kansas out of the Big 12. Let's make a strictly basketball play here. So now we can dominate both of the two biggest. Well, we're all three of the three because the SEC already dominates baseball. So you got baseball, you got football. Let's make it a clean sweep and monopolize college athletics. Get the one thing we're not really great at. There's Florida, because now with 3 national titles, they're a blue blood. There's Kentucky. Arkansas is a weird history, but they're an above average program. Historically speaking, no one else has done much of anything in the SEC basketball wise. So they could go fix that in a hurry and make UNC and Kentucky an SEC game, or make Kansas and Florida an SEC game. Missouri, Kansas would be an SEC game. That's an old rivalry. So there's a lot they could do that way, not from the football standpoint, but to just clean up and monopolize all of the major college sports, the revenue college sports. So that's right. And neither of those plans, by the way, include FSU. Neither of them going west to expand the geography, nor just going for strictly the basketball play. Neither one of those avenues include FSU. So that's that. All right. Speaking of futures, we're going to talk Florida-FSU in a second, but we got to talk more about Lane Kiffin, the story that is just not going to die until he makes up his mind. And look, like I said at the start of the show, it's a topic that has been making my head spin. I'm hearing different stuff every day from different people, some of whom obviously know more than others. But among the people I trust, the consensus seems to be he still has not made up his mind. Anyone who's saying he's made a decision already, this is recording this very late Wednesday night, but as of, haven't checked my phone since like 8 o'clock. So let's see how many texts I've missed between then and now. Only 6. So, and none of them are about Lane Kiffin. So, okay. So as of late Wednesday night, the consensus among people that I trust seems to be Lane Kiffin has not made a decision. He is leaning towards one way. I think the fact that LSU is making a lot more noise at this point than Florida is a red herring. It is not something that has anything to do with the actual chances of him going anywhere. I think that's just LSU's way of doing things versus Florida's way of doing things. And look, Florida is the school that hired Turnkey. Turnkey, of course, is the agency that does this, right? So they know what they're doing. They know that sometimes they're just going to have to let other schools dictate and dominate the news cycle and be okay with it. They'll move like the K in the word knife, and they'll just make things happen and make the biggest splash at the end. So The other thing to note too is Turnkey ZRG, the firm that's helping Florida do this search. They're the same firm that Oklahoma State University hired. And Oklahoma State University came pretty much out of nowhere to get the coach from North Texas, Eric Morris. So, I mean, there was a little whispering about it, but it was not a huge thing. There was not a lot of buzz about their next coach. They made the decision a couple of weeks ago, from what I'm told, and they made it, and it became public only today or yesterday at this point. I've been sick. So the days kind of start to run together at this point. But yeah, it was very recently made public, and it was because Turnkey ZRG wants it that way. So if they operate with Florida in any similar way to how they've operated with Oklahoma State, that tells me that they're fine with LSU blabbing all they want and Ole Miss fans making all the noise they want if they make the biggest splash at the end of the day. And I will say this, if Lane Kiffin does not come to Florida, which is very, very possible, if he doesn't come to Florida, he told a lot of people a falsehood, meaning he lied, which is just the straight up way to put it. He will have lied to a lot of people if he doesn't come to Florida. And there's no way of knowing if he said the same things to LSU people or to Ole Miss people. Hey, Ole Miss, don't worry. I'm staying past the Egg Bowl. He could have lied to the whole entire Ole Miss roster. And he may have changed his mind. It may not. I shouldn't just lead with it as a lie. He could be wrong. It would be a falsehood, which is what I think I initially said. He could just have changed his mind. But he told people he was coming to Florida. There were conversations had that he ended with, I'm going to be a Gator coach. So, look, he could go back on his word. He may have lied, call it whatever you want. But those things were said, and I do feel confident that he has enough of an emotional tie to Gainesville that he will ultimately choose Florida. But again, I don't think he's made his mind up. I don't think that his family, Layla and his son Knox, have made their minds up, because they will absolutely have some say in this. Even if Lane has the final say, those people will absolutely have part of or be a part of this decision. But I think we just have to wait a couple more days and see what he does.
Well, first of all, I'm happy to keep that guy Morris out of the SEC. I think that guy's going to be a very, very good coach. One heck of a hire for Oklahoma State. And he'll be either in the SEC or the Big Ten here in one of the major schools, probably in the next hiring cycle here for him in about 2 or 3 years. That guy is an offensive demon right there, bro. Back with Lane. Neil, listen, this is the way I see it, man. I think we've moved beyond sources that people have and what they've heard and who people are talking to and all that good stuff, right? Because I firmly believe that all those sources and what those people are saying is accurate. I firmly believe what you just said, that Lane has told people he's coming, okay? But I see it one of two ways, okay? I see it either A, it's always been Florida. No matter what, it was always going to be Florida for Lane, no matter what. This is where he always wanted to be it because he loves Steve Spurrier, which is why he wears the visor. We've all heard that. Be it because his wife, Leda, ex-wife, mother of his kids, is a Gator legacy, the daughter of John Reeves.
By the way, they have definitely repaired their relationship. So when you hear the word ex-wife Layla, it's not like they hate each other. They have a very good relationship.
Correct.
Definitely. So her opinion definitely matters.
Which is excellent.
Go ahead.
Which is great. So Knox grew up a Gator fan. I mean, heck, if my grandfather was one time a legend, a great of a certain university, yeah, I'll probably be a fan of that university growing up myself. I still remember pictures of that Lane would post of Knox going to school with his Gator backpack on, okay, when he was like 10 years old or whatnot, which is only, 6 or 7 years ago. So no matter what, it was going to always be Florida. He had an affinity for Florida, and the thought of leading the Gators into the swamp coming out of that tunnel is just something that he's always dreamed about doing as a head coach, you know? So that's number one. Number two, though, for the last 8 years, he's wanted this job, okay? Since we hired Dan Mullen, he's wanted this job when he was at FAU. And I'm sure through his agent, Jimmy Sexton, he's put out feelers here. And he was rejected every single year by Scott Strickland, okay? I think back of getting in arguments with people on social media as far back as 8 years ago, because I wanted Lane Kiffin before we hired Mullen. I was not happy, but I was okay with the Mullen hire, but I really wanted Kiffin. But, man, you should have seen some of the things people would say about Kiffin. He was immature, he's a jerk, he's a child. They will be posting it on social media for the last 7 years. Gator fans have treated Kiffin like a redheaded stepchild. No offense to redheads out there, okay? Saying some really nasty things about Lane Kiffin, you know? Some of those old tweets, right, have resurfaced, you know, in the last few weeks, funny as that may be, right? So, you know, maybe Lane Kiffin remembers all that. And maybe he remembers getting told no by Scott Strickland for 7 years, when he probably begged Scott Strickland to just give him an interview. And to the best of my knowledge, Scott Strickland wouldn't even give him an interview.
Correct.
Okay? So maybe either A, it's always been Florida because he always loved Florida, or B, hell have no fury that a woman scorn is a famous little saying. And you could just now substitute Lane Kiffin there. Hell have no fury when it comes to trolling than a Lane Kiffin scorn. And this could be just the Mona Lisa master trolling of Florida by one Lane Kiffin, as spite, as retribution, as good old-fashioned payback for the last 7 years that Gator Nation and Scott Strickland told me, F you, you immature little brat.
Yeah, I think both of those things are possible. I will add a third possibility. I don't think that what I'm about to say really conflicts with what you said, but it could be another – it could be a combination of different things, and this could be something that is like thrown in there with option one. This is a Jimmy Sexton masterclass, an absolute showpiece by the guy who runs college football, really. Let's just call it what it is. The guy represented, the last two Florida coaches. Did he represent McElwain too? He might have.
I don't know.
I think he did. I want to say he represented the last 3 Florida coaches. Someone can correct me in the comments if I'm wrong. I believe he represented the last 3 Florida coaches here. So this guy, and it's not just Florida, he represents coaches in pretty much every state in the country. So this could be a deal where he is trying to draw as much attention to LSU as possible to try to get Florida to bite on it and say, okay, well, he's probably going to LSU now. So or not probably, but he might go to LSU now. So let's just raise the stakes a little bit higher. Let's sweeten his offer. Let's give him another couple mil for his NIL package or his assistant staff or whatever. Let's just make his deal that much sweeter because, you know, Sexton gets 5% of everything that Kiffin gets. So maybe it's just let's tack on a couple million to his annual salary too. Maybe let's make it more base and less incentive based. Maybe let's get more upfront. Maybe, you know, let's put more guaranteed in writing. I don't know. But there's something that he's trying to get out of Florida where he and Lane both think that Florida's the move and they both plan on him going to UF, but they want to wring, that's with a W, W-R-I-N-G, wring as many pennies out of the UF bank accounts as possible. So it could be 1 and 3. That could be the move. Or it could be 1 and it's just Turnkey doing what Turnkey does. They're professionals at this, and they want to let LSU make all the noise while they move in silence and make the biggest splash at the end. So It could be. We'll have to wait and see. I don't believe Lane has made a decision yet as of Wednesday night. I have no reason to believe he's made his mind up. I don't know what he thinks about Ole Miss right now. Like, that's the thing I wonder about. Does he have any interest in coaching Ole Miss the rest of the season? Because we know that Ole Miss will not have interest in him coaching Ole Miss the rest of the season if he's going to leave. Like, if he's going to Florida or if he's going to LSU, they will want nothing to do with him for the CFP run. So the question for me is, how much does Lane Kiffin want to coach Ole Miss this year in 2025? How much? Because they're going to make the college football playoff, barring a complete and lack of a better word, laying of an egg, no pun intended, in the Egg Bowl against Mississippi State. They're going to compete for a national championship. Does that interest Lane Kiffin? And if it does interest Lane Kiffin, does it interest him enough to commit to Ole Miss beyond just this year so that he can continue to coach this team that's already in the college football playoff? I don't know that he knows the answer to that either. He's going to have to come up with one pretty soon because we're going to release this on Thursday morning, Thanksgiving Day. The Egg Bowl is tomorrow when you guys hear this, and he's going to have to make a decision the day after because that's when he told everyone he was going to make a decision. And that's when Keith Carter, the Ole Miss AD, told everyone he's going to make a decision. So I think we are nearing the end of this saga.
The Egg Bowl's Friday, not Thursday.
The Egg Bowl's Friday, but I'm saying this is going to drop on Thursday.
Gotcha. Sorry.
So when y'all hear this, it will be tomorrow. And in 2 days from now, 48 hours from now, that's when the hourglass strikes zero, according to Keith Carter, the Ole Miss AD. So we're going to have to see. There's still a lot.
All right, so let's go. Final percentages. Before the announcement on Saturday. What do you got? Final percentages. Go. And then I'll go.
I got 60% Florida. I got 30% Ole Miss, and I got 10% LSU.
I've got 50% Ole Miss, and then 25-25 between Florida and LSU. I'm going to go back to my original gut feeling that he was going to stay at Ole Miss. I'm going to go back to that again, pretty much.
We're making these percentages when we still don't know, or when we know that Lane still doesn't know what he wants to do yet.
Correct. Now, why do you think the national media is all in on LSU? I mean, pretty much like 98%. Why is that?
Because this is my guess. A very all right. It's a cocktail of things. There's the least prominent ingredient in there is the national media just hates Florida. Okay. And I think that when a lot of people say that, they don't really stop to think about what that means, because in a lot of ways, Florida being good is good for the national media. It's good for college football. So them just taking just trying to bury Florida with a shovel doesn't really behoove the national media. It's better clicks-wise when the Gators are good. But there are undoubtedly some people out there, Tim Brando, I'm looking at you and your toxicity right now, who just like to see Florida suffer for whatever reason. And I think the much larger reason, like that might be 5% of this mixture here. The overwhelming majority reason here, percentage of the cocktail, is that LSU is just making more noise. They're leaking more stuff out. They're letting their thoughts be known more. They're letting more people look down and see their hands. Florida is just absolutely silent right now. My guess is there are maybe 3 people who know what Lane Kiffin's going to do at Florida. If there are that many, there may not be that many, and they are not talking. They are keeping their mouths shut. And again, that is if Lane Kiffin has signed anything with them. If there is anything signed, sealed, delivered, there are at most 3 people who know, and they're not talking. So Florida is choosing to move in silence. LSU is choosing to control these last couple of weeks with the media narrative. So you know what? That's just their way of doing things. Just like when Florida needs money, they'll go to their booster base to get it. When LSU needs money, they'll go to a children's hospital. So it's just 2 ways of doing it. It's just their way versus our way, and we're going to see which way wins out in the end.
When I think about the national people, not the Washington Nationals, and and how they're all in on LSU and how they could, be made to look like fools. I think of this tweet from your old partner Chris, Mr. Chris Spitz on X. He quote tweeted earlier today. He quote tweeted some Tom Mars guy, talking about how Pete Thamel says that a member of LSU's Board of Supervisors asked Brian Kelly's lawyers to withdraw his lawsuit before LSU would say whether he was terminated for cause or without cause. Just some real shady stuff, man. And your old partner Chris quote tweets it with, "Let's rub two brain cells together. There's no way Jimmy Sexton is advising his client to sign a contract with an institution who uses these tactics. Compounding is the fact UF has given fat contracts with sizable buyouts to all the recent coaches and paid them." Damn. That's like as good of an argument as I've heard from anybody.
Yeah. I mean,
yeah. Jimmy Sexton is the baddest MFer on the block. All right? Anybody in their right mind think he will really be okay with Lane going to LSU? With the absolute-ish show going on over there with Kelly, his contract, his buyout, all that stuff, like what Chris says there? Man. And for the national media just to completely ignore that aspect and go all in on LSU, man, something is just weird. Something is just off. I can't put my finger on it, but it really makes no sense, man.
The whole thing is weird, though. That's the thing that I keep coming back to when I'm, as Chris says, rubbing brain cells together. That's funny. I actually didn't see that, but that's a good way to put it. When I'm trying to add 2 + 2 and just connecting logical dots, the one thing I come back to is, but it's Lane Kiffin. Lane Kiffin is not normal. In a lot of ways, he's better. What he is better than the everyday straight guy in the comedy show, right? It's not the conventional PC normal way of doing things. In a lot of ways, it's preferable to the normal way of doing things. But in this courtship process, we don't have him yet. So we are kind of just on a yo-yo here, along for the ride with whatever news media narrative wants to be spun on a given day for clicks, because people, I don't know, they need their $40 a week from Twitter or whatever it is they pay, the ESPN affiliate of Louisiana, or Louisiana Sportsnet, or Tiger Bait, or any of the other 40 that have been parroting these pro LSU propaganda pieces. But I look at this and go, but it's Lane Kiffin, guys. Like, this was never going to be a normal courtship process. This was never going to be done by the book, at least not by everyone involved. Florida's doing it quietly. Florida, because they hired turnkey. The Gators are operating in silence here. Whether they get them or not, I do think that's the preferable way to operate here. But LSU just likes to make noise. And it may be just so they can go to their fans and go, look, we tried. We did everything we could. We just didn't get them. We just got beaten out by Florida, which knowing them is not going to sit well at all, any more so than if they didn't make any noise about this. But I think it's them. It's Verge Osbury at the new LSU AD and their governor Landry, not to be confused with Kiffin's daughter Landry. This is the politician Landry, going out and saying, look, we turned over every single stone. We pushed every single chip forward. We did everything we could. And look, to them, because this seems to be how they operate, if they win the news cycle for 2 weeks in a row, even if they don't get Kiffin, they're happy because they're nationally relevant. And I think that's pretty freaking dumb, but that's what they seem to be interested in. So, like I said, we're going to have to see. Nothing has been decided yet. If I'm wrong on that and something has been decided, literally nobody other than Lane Kiffin and maybe 3 people at Florida know about it, and they're not talking. So we're not going to know until Saturday at the least.
So just to put a bow on this here, we should know by the time kickoff Saturday, right? By the time
we should, but here again is where I'll go back to, but it's Lane Kiffin. a stay, a delay, right? A respite, just pushing this back a couple of days would not surprise me in the slightest bit. Now, Ole Miss could force his hand and say, okay, if you don't have your mind made up, goodbye. But then it could still be a matter of him pitting Florida and LSU against each other. And like I said, I don't think LSU is super likely to get him, at least not compared to he is to stay at Ole Miss. But again, that could change. And if Ole Miss removes itself from the picture and just say, okay, bye, have a nice life, then he could directly force Florida and LSU to have a bidding war over him, which could delay his decision back. He could just be picking up the Ole Miss hat at the table and just throwing it away, right? But he's still got two hats to choose from. So we're still not going to know that. So I say we should know by kickoff on Saturday, but I would not it would not surprise me if this goes to Sunday or even Monday of next week, as you know, Florida's going to want a decision and LSU's going to want a decision too, obviously. So they could, whichever school loses out on him can then go looking for their silver medals, because they'll still have, you know, a recruiting class to salvage. They'll need to hire staffs and all that. So they're going to need to move on. Someone will force his hand, but this could go into next week for sure.
I think LSU, you know, behind the scenes, probably, obviously, and we might never know unless it gets to that point, right? That Lane chooses Florida, and then LSU, I think what they've done is behind the scenes gotten in touch with Summerall and said, listen, are you okay being the number 2 choice no matter what? As soon as the decision happens, if it's not us, you're hired the next day.
Boy,
maybe Summerall has said, yeah. I mean, he's literally right down the road.
Everyone loves being a second choice, though, right? Everyone loves being the consolation prize.
But when that consolation prize is you could be the head coach at LSU, one of the storied programs in the SEC, coming from Tulane, man, you know, if that's me, I'll be like, yeah, no problem. I'm fine with that. And then next year, he's probably going to be the number 1 candidate next year, regardless.
So, I think he's got his eye on Auburn, frankly, but we'll see. I mean, LSU is a better job than Auburn, but it's not appreciably so. Like, it is better, but it's better by a rung. It's not better by like 40 rungs. It's not the difference between Florida and Florida Atlantic. Like, it's not such a seismic difference. And I just think he has his heart set on that job and on the Plains. So again, we'll see. We're going to hope and pray he winds up a Gator, because from what I've been told, he is it. He is the list for Florida. There is no wish list. There is no choice 2, choice 3, choice 4, choice 10. It is Kiffin. He is the list for Florida. And if we don't get him, we're going to have to scramble to get our next coach, which would not be a pretty sight. So we'll hope, we'll pray, we'll hope he's a Gator. But until then, we're going to talk about the team that we do have. This wonderful 3-8 Florida Gators team, the worst team in my lifetime for sure. I mean, there's no debate for me. Like 2013 is the only one that even comes close. And that team, at least they tried every week. Like even the game they got blown out by FSU at the end, they lost 37-7. Yeah, but like they led 3-0 after a quarter. Like they put effort forth every week. They were just bad because they had injuries. This Florida team just does not care at all. We saw that against Kentucky. We saw that against Tennessee. We've seen that. I mean, we saw it against USF when Napier was here. They didn't care. They preferred to spit on their opponents than actually make plays to win the game. So, again, FSU is no prize either. I think before we give our keys, though, the difference is between Florida and FSU. FSU is really, really bad, but they try. Florida is really, really, really bad, and they don't try.
We don't know. They try sometimes, and then sometimes they don't.
Yeah, and look, to the point of anyone who wants to disagree with me that Florida shut it down this year, I will point out one thing. College football is a very week-to-week thing. Like, things can change very, very quickly in a locker room. Even if the players don't like each other and it's a broken locker room, they can still win games. Like, look at Florida this year. You go from competing tooth and nail with Georgia to getting blasted by Kentucky to fighting tooth and nail against Ole Miss. You're probably I mean, another immaculate deflection or prayer at Jordan Hare type of crazy play away from winning that game in Oxford. And then you just get your brains bashed in by Tennessee in the swamp. So, and for FSU, look at them in 2021. They go from fighting Notre Dame tooth and nail to losing at home to Jacksonville State and getting a flag planted on the Seminole face. So this can change very quickly. And I know Tennessee is a rivalry game, and the guys should have been ready for that. They should have put forth their best effort for that. Night game, ranked opponent, SEC opponent. It's tape for whoever's going to go to the portal or go to the NFL next year. It's tape for you to sell yourself to your next job. But something about this feels a little bit different. With that said, we're going to make some predictions. Keys to the game, Adrian, are what?
All right. Number one, does the coaching staff have any dignity at all, right? I had a lot more higher hopes for this coaching staff once Billy was fired, but I've just come to the realization that Billy hired just a bunch of, yes men and basically administrative assistants. I guess Billy would get them flowers for Secretary's Day and stuff like that. I don't know, but it looks like none of them are any good, and you're probably going to not see many of them have any jobs of any significance here next year at all. So can they muster up something other than what they've been putting out there? Number two, does the pattern hold, right? Played great against Georgia, a lot of effort. Absolute opposite against Kentucky. Played great against Ole Miss, a lot of effort. Absolute opposite against Tennessee. Is the pattern going to hold now against Florida State? Are they going to play with effort? If they bring that effort that they brought to Georgia and Ole Miss, they beat FSU handily in the swamp. If they play like they played against Kentucky and Tennessee, they're probably going to lose. End the season 3-9. And Florida State, have a little pride, man. They're going to get that gator head that they have, and they're going to march it up and down the field, just like Tennessee did with the plastic gator, the blow-up gator. Well, Florida State's going to have that gator head that they have, and they're going to march it all up and down the field. So I know, guys, that, you're all getting paid now, and some of you are coming in the portal, and you might be looking. It's just not the same. But this is a rivalry that means something to the fans. So we hope it means something to you all. So have a little pride. And then number three, score. Just score. When Smack hit that field goal against Tennessee to get the 3 points up there, I felt great. That non-shutout streak means something to me, man. It really does. And I think it means a lot to Gator Nation, to the fans out there. So just score, man. The last time Florida State won a road game, period, was 2 years ago in the swamp. Okay? So this is a bad team, man. Go out and win this game. Finish the season on a positive note.
Yeah, I mean, Tennessee bringing the blow up gator was kind of funny. They deserved it. I mean, Florida is a terrible team. They deserve whatever happens to them. Tennessee seemed a little too excited to be able to do that. Like, I mean, I get it. You hadn't won the swamp in 22 years, but like, guys, have some realization of just how bad the team you beat was. Like, you made a team go from 3-7 to 3-8. Like, just a little realization. Then again, they're probably just excited to have something not genetically related to them in their mouths for the first time. So I'll give them a pass. All right. Keys. Don't turn the ball over. I mean, we have seen DJ Lagway give us a master class in how not to operate a quarterback a couple times this year. We saw it against Kentucky. We saw it against LSU. Both of those games were outside the swamp, which, this one is in the swamp, so that should help him a little bit. But some of his decision-making, it just, I don't know. It's hard for me to make heads or tails of. it's hard for me to try to give him the benefit of the doubt and like pretend I know what he's seeing, because when you get the all 22, it just looks worse. So just be smart, throw the football with your I mean, I shouldn't say throw the football with conviction, because he's not going to do that, and you just can't fix that. The footwork and the planting and driving we've talked about all year long. It's just not going to get fixed this week. But try to make some smart decisions, not throwing the ball late down the middle, not trying to throw it across your body, not trying to throw it into triple coverage, knowing your receivers' routes. And if they break off to the routes or they run the wrong routes, and that's on them. And we'll know about it sooner or later. Someone will talk and we'll hear about it. But Lagway's got to make good decisions in this game. Key number 2, and this is more of a stat than it is a key, but just think about this. FSU somehow has a top 10 offense in the country. North Texas, South Florida, Ole Miss, Tennessee, Georgia Tech, Utah, Texas Tech, USC, and FSU. So FSU, yards per game wise, has the 9th best offense in all of college football. Well, then why is it that their fans are constantly complaining about how bad the offense is? Well, because if you do 5 seconds of research into this team, you'll see that those numbers are skewed by 729 yards of offense against East Texas A&M and 775 yards of offense against Kent State.
Wow.
That is 2 of their 11 games. That, again, their average is 478 yards a game per offense. That is highly skewed by 2 performances against terrible teams. So I don't really put a whole lot of stock into that. Their offense is not good. I watched them a little bit against NC State last Friday night. It's Tommy Castellanos is probably better than DJ Lagway, but not appreciably so. And the ceiling for Lagway is certainly higher as a passer. So I don't know. FSU, again, I guess the other key would be don't lose the game. Let the other team go and make mistakes to lose games, because this game is going to be a mistake off. Yeah. This is going to be a self-destruct off. So all you have to do is just sit back and let the other team beat themselves like they've been doing all year long. So the team's resumes actually are pretty similar. Think about it. Like, I know FSU is the ACC and Florida is the SEC, but you think about it, each team has a big win over a terrible opponent. FSU's got 2 in East Texas A&M and Kent State. Florida's got 1 against Long Island, right? Like, there's anomaly data in there against teams that clearly don't belong on the same field with either team, even in their worst years. Then you've got 1 nice win, Alabama for FSU, Texas for Florida, and the rest of their resumes are just absolute garbage. Look at the resumes. You lose to Virginia. You lose to, granted, Miami's a good team, as is Virginia, but then you lose to Stanford, who's already also bowl ineligible. They're 4-7. You lose by double digits to Clemson. Again, post heyday Clemson. They're not very good this year either. And you lose a game to Pitt in which you should never have lost. And I know Pitt has a decent record, and I know they've got some ACC championship hopes, and they're a respectable program, but the way that game played out was just gross. And then, of course, you lose to NC State, who's also no prize this year, too. You lose to them by double digits as well. Florida, of course, no better. I mean, you lose the USF game. FSU, I guess, the one difference is they don't have that embarrassing non-conference loss, but they do have an embarrassing conference loss to Stanford. Florida, of course, has the embarrassment of losing to USF at home, also the embarrassment of getting smacked upside the head by a bad Kentucky team, also not winning games at home. For those of you who say, well, FSU can't win games on the road. Yeah, well, Florida can't win games anywhere, period. Like, Florida lost at home to Tennessee for the first time in 22 years, and they lost to South Florida at home. So that doesn't really cut any ice with me. Florida, of course, also has their share of close losses, which is something that I think could make the difference. Florida, a little bit more battle-tested than FSU against good opposition. Miami isn't that impressive to me, nor is Virginia. Of course, I know Miami beat Florida, but again, this is 2025 Florida. And Florida's had close calls with Georgia and Ole Miss, both of whom are going to the college football playoff this year, barring some catastrophic collapse in rivalry weekend. And Florida is also hung with Texas A&M, who might be the best team in the country this year. I mean, Ohio State and Indiana are holding the top 2 spots, but A&M's got a resume up there with anyone else's, and they might just be the favorite to win it all. And Florida hung with them, granted, just for a half, but Florida has lost the bulk of its games to much better opponents than FSU has this year. That is the one thing I look at that I think, all right, Florida is just a terrible team and they're trying to lose games. Why are they favored in this game? That's the only thing I come back to, because Florida has played more tough opponents and they've been more battle tested. So Florida's like C- game might be enough to beat FSU, C- game. So with that said, let's make some predictions. Boy, this is going to be fun. Let's get the boards ready. Let's do this. I'm going to write down my percent chance to win. That's what I want
Gus
to do.
Malzahn. Gus Malzahn's offense.
The Gus bus. As I'm writing this down, Adrian, which team do you think has more experience in snatching defeat from the jaws of victory this year? That's what I wonder.
I would say Florida State. I mean, I was actually watching that Stanford game. It was I think like 1, 2 o'clock in the morning, and I was actually watching it live, and Florida State got stopped at the 1-inch line from winning that ball game. So they got stopped with no time on the clock, final play of the game at the 1-inch line for the go-ahead touchdown, the walk-off touchdown. So, and then you throw in last week with the boink off the head, the back-to-back muff punts. I mean, Florida State just have lost some doozies this year, man. And like you said, it's the ACC. It's the ACC. It's not really the SEC. So, yeah, at least Florida's a little bit more, battle-tested against tougher teams,
The one thing I will say, though, is Florida is an all-time bad game, worst game of Arch Manning's career ever, and a Blake Shapen brain malfunction away from being 1-10.
Yeah, man, that's crazy. It's nuts, man.
So with that said, are you ready to show me what you got?
Yeah, this is purely entertainment purposes only, this pick right here. So don't take it to the bank.
1, 2, 3. Wow! Are you serious?
I got Florida in a blowout, baby. Florida, the pattern's going to hold. The pattern. This is going to be Florida's best game of the year. They're going to put it on them, blowout in the swamp, 37-13 Gators. You heard it here.
That's crazy. We both have 75-25 just for different teams.
37-13, baby. We're going to put it on. Run them out of the
swamp. An exact replay of 2001 when Florida won that game 37-13. Our consolation prize for Darnell Dockett hurting Ernest Graham. His son's going to be out there on defense for Florida. Maybe he's got a little something to say. But, yeah, that's
Darnell. Hey, I ran into Ernest Graham when Miles was a senior in high school. They were at the Swamp for one of the games, and I ran into him outside. And I said hi to Ernest Graham, and I told him, if I ever run into Darnell Dockett, I'm going to get in a lick for you. He started laughing. He's like, and then I'll run, but I'll get in one lick.
Wait. You're no shrinking violet. You used to be a cop.
Oh, my gosh.
You can take him.
No,
I couldn't, but you could.
No, I can't. I'm sure that guy's huge. But, yeah, Darnell Dockett, one of the all-time dirty AS players in college football, man.
I have never been so sure that Florida loses a close game.
Was that Darnell Dockett game the same game as the swindle in the swamp?
Nope, that was the next time they came to Gainesville.
Okay.
Damn. That was 2003. As for this game, I've never been so certain that Florida loses a nail biter.
Really? So you think so?
Usually when you have like wild odds, like 70-30 or greater, when it's clearly lopsided for one team, usually a blowout prediction goes along with it. I have this game being a nail biter to the very end. I just know that Florida is just terrible, and they find ways to lose. It's what I said for years now, since 2023. Good teams find ways to win games. Bad teams find ways to lose games. And at this
the
point,
model
it's a program.
Does Dustin have the model out? I think he does. Check it out.
Let's see. Does Dustin send the model? Oh, Dustin has the model going 27-24 Gators, 56.1% chance to win. We got to start using decimal points in our predictions. We just keep giving nice round integers.
Nice round.
Yeah. I mean, look, that makes sense. Like, if you're looking at it just from a data standpoint, it makes sense to pick Florida because they have played a tougher schedule. I do wonder how exactly it's hard to say. I wonder how exactly Dustin's model or any model out there could possibly predict just the buffoonery that these teams put out there on a weekly basis, like the Keystone Cops, Three Stooges level garbage that these teams put on tape every year. If it's not Florida spitting at an opponent, it's FSU playing soccer and heading the ball on a punt and then muffing the next punt like 5 minutes later. Like, I don't know how you make that stuff up. Or the Stanford game, probably the wildest Stanford football game ending ever to not include a band coming onto the field. Like, I don't know how you make that stuff up. Like, you have to be some kind of like Stephen King or modern day Shakespeare to have the mind to script something like that. That's just insane. So we'll see.
By the way,
I think Florida, go ahead.
Sold out again, another sellout for the what
toxic fan base. Toxic fan base, right, Tim Brando? Toxic as it gets.
What was it? Like the 18th
in a row. For a team that is 3-8. And look, FSU probably sold some tickets, but this is going to be there's going to be a lot of blue in that crowd.
Thanksgiving weekend for two garbage teams, and we sold out the swamp, man. That's nuts. I think it's going to be a blowout either way. I don't see a close game. I think someone's going to get on top of the other one, and then it's going to be a comedy of errors, just like you say. Probably a multitude of turnovers. There's going to be a lot of quidditch involved here on the team. Yeah, on one of these teams is going to quit, tap out by halftime. It's going to be noticeable, and I think it's going to be a blowout by 20 plus. Hopefully, it's not back-to-back Gators.
That's Quidditch, like Quittagge, as opposed to the game played in the Harry Potter series. Okay, got it. I don't see this being a blowout just because I see both teams contributing to that comedy of errors. Like, this is, you know what? Screw it. We're already an hour into this and it's late. So if you made it this far, you're going to get a laugh out of this. I was talking with my FSU friend, and we're both sure our teams are going to lose. And finally, I just said, all right, let's agree or disagree on this. This game is going to be abortion-geddon. These are two abortions of football programs going at it. Like, these teams never should have been trotted out there. Mike Norvell should never have relied on the portal as heavily as he did. Billy Napier should never have been brought back for this season. Like, it's just two abortions head-to-head, and one of them's got to win. So abortion-geddon was the word that I came up with. And
this is officially the end of the Billy Napier era, right? Yep. Saturday will officially be the end. And that's why I want to score, because so many streaks have gone the way of the dodo bird in the Billy Napier era.
Wouldn't it also be just so fitting as one final postscript to the Napier era that's the final memory we have of it, of the remnants of his staff? Just leaving us with one more broken streak, the last one we have left.
Just give me 3 points, and I'll be happy. But I see a Gator blowout, though. This will be the best game of the season. We're going to close out the Napier era in style, and here we go, baby.
I think you're dreaming. But I'll take 2 points like we had 10 years ago. I'll take a safety.
Get on the board.
What was it? Roberto Aguayo kicks the game-winning field goal to break the tie. It's 0-0. in the second quarter. That was something.
I can't
Look,
believe
got to
how
win this
bad.
game. FSU fans, I will say FSU fans. All right, I'll end the show on a positive note for both sides. We'll go FSU first. FSU fans, for now, you guys are pretty screwed. So you're stuck in the ACC. But that is it is a major variable. But if you do figure that variable out, coming from a Gator fan who wants to see you guys suffer, you guys are going to be a force. Whether that's in the Big Ten, whether that's as an independent. I mean, that's not totally unheard of. If Notre Dame is held out for this long from joining a conference, maybe you guys do the same thing. Maybe you work out some special deal like Notre Dame has. I don't know. But if you guys get out of this poison pill deal you've got with the ACC, which you do seem to have shortened the clock on, but you still have several years left. Once you clear that hurdle, you guys will be fine. Florida fans, what I will say as a Gator fan myself is whether it's Lane Kiffin or not, there are a number of coaches that can succeed at Florida. I mean, look at Dan Mullen. Dan Mullen clearly had his faults, and yet if the 12-team playoff existed while he was here, he would have made it each of his first 3 seasons. Like, you don't have to be the perfect coach to win games at Florida. Florida is enough of a brand that it can win games on its own. It's a machine that has enough pieces that are already on autopilot that you just have to not totally destroy it. And there are a number of coaches out there who I think could do it. Like, for example, I did not want someone like a Matt Campbell at Florida. I don't want him. He's not on my list at all. But if he came to Florida, if he was showed the ropes, how to do things here in Florida. Hey, these are the resources you've got here. This is what you don't touch. Don't mess with this. Like, for example, we've got relationships at this high school, that high school, the other high school. Don't F those up. Keep those relationships good. You tell him what not to ruin, and you tell him things, hey, use your expertise for this, that, whatever. He can be successful here. He probably won't, be a legend like Nick Saban. Obviously, won't be an Urban Meyer, even a Steve Spurrier type. But he could have the success that like a Dan Mullen did simply by staying out of the way of things that he should not be messing with. So that's the thing for Florida. It is sexy enough of a brand that it can be successful. I mean, look at Jim McElwain. Guy never should have been hired here. And I know the SEC East was really bad those years, but still, I mean, he coached us to a big win over Death Valley over LSU and Death Valley that we still remember very fondly today. All right, he still had us compete with Alabama for a minute in the SEC title game, had us blow out Ole Miss. Things kind of fell his way there, right, with Will Grier being inherited for him. But, they were a national title contender, at least until Grier got hit with PEDs. So the point is, Florida's a school that does not need every variable to be answered perfectly in order to compete for national titles. You'd like it to be. That's where you get like an Urban Meyer type who wins multiple natties. That's ideal. But something somewhat less than ideal can still result in success here because that's just what Florida is. So happy Thanksgiving. I left you guys with something positive for both sides, whether you're a Nole or a Gator. You got something positive to think about for the future. So FSU, sorry, it's going to take you a little bit longer to hit that success. You guys are stuck with Norvell for next year. And then you're stuck in the ACC for a few years longer. But there will come a time where FSU is going to be back on top. I know that as well as anyone else. Just because I know what FSU can do in its heyday. And again, Gator fans, there's going to come a time where we say in all kinds of weather because good things are happening, because in all kinds of weather means the sunny, balmy days as well. Cool breeze, nice weather, just chilling on the beach or in a lawn chair, just enjoying life. There's going to be some of that weather coming soon too, one way or another.
What's your favorite Thanksgiving dish?
Favorite Thanksgiving dish? My mom makes a really good sweet potato casserole.
Sweet potato casserole? I'm a stuffing guy.
I love stuffing too. Stuffing. I can, yeah. Stuffing. Oh my God. The cornbread with my mom does something with the celery that makes it like so soft, and it's like baked into the cornbread, and you wouldn't be able to tell it's anything different than the cornbread if not for the taste, because the texture of the celery is like almost identical to the cornbread. So my mom, fantastic
stuffing. I put the sausage in it, the
yeah.
sage sausage from Jimmy Dean, and then some gravy on there on the plate. Ooh, it's good stuff, man. So happy Thanksgiving to everybody. If you stayed this
Happy
far,
Thanksgiving.
an hour and 14 minutes in, we thank you. Happy Thanksgiving. Hopefully the next time you see me and Neil, we're talking about
Coach a win.
Kiffin. No.
And a win.
Would you trade a win for Coach
No,
Kiffin?
I don't. No, I'm not engaging in that. No, they're two totally separate entities. No, the answer is no.
Because Florida's blowing out FSU no matter what. You heard it here. 37-13, baby.
Yeah. Well, you know what, Adrian? Here's how we end the show. That only happens if you give me a roast con pollo on Saturday, as opposed to anything else. Because we're 2-0 when you feed me a roast con pollo at your house.
And we're not. We have a losing record when there's no roast con pollo.
Correct. Correct. All right, y'all. Enjoyed talking Gators, even though the Gators aren't very good right now, because that's just a testament to we love what we do. Adrian, happy Thanksgiving. Dustin, happy Thanksgiving to you. Y'all watching, listening, happy Thanksgiving to y'all as well. Go Gators. Here's hoping we go 2-0 this weekend. We win this football game and we win the race for Lane Kiffin.
So.